Well, very good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode number, I totally forget. We're in lockdown. I can't even remember the days. I hope that you are all right and that you're enjoying the series. We just had a long, lengthy chat to Professor Alan Guthrie about the challenges of horse sickness. So well worth the watch for all of you out there who want to know more about horse sickness and the do's and don'ts and myths and dispelling those myths as well. So don't forget about our competitions. We've got two competitions running. Kyalami Equestrian Club in association with Equipage. We've got the hobby horse competition. Some videos have already come in and they are wonderful. And then, of course, we've got the Ken Farrington Skipping Challenge and Equipage giving some wonderful prize money to the winners of those competitions. Don't forget that to send them to admin@kyalamiparkclub.co.za. And we will upload them to our YouTube page come the 30th of April. We'll then give everybody a few days to peruse those videos and to vote. Thumbs up if you like them, and the videos with the most amount of likes will be the winners. So that's that. Our guest this evening on episode 9 or 10 or episode whatever it is none other than young Cayleigh Triggol. Kaylie, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And you, Aiden?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you doing in lockdown? Where are you holed up?
My boyfriend and I are staying with my dad, Aisling and Miles at the moment. So yeah, everything's been good and been nice company. So
all the horses in work, and if so, what type of work are you doing? Have you eased off them a little bit in these uncertain times? We don't know when we'll be back in the competition arena, or does work carry on as normal with the horses for the Triggol family?
our horses are just ticking over and yeah, keeping active and fit. So yeah.
Good. Well, Easter show would have come and gone had we been out in the big bad world. Unfortunately, it has not happened this year. You guys were to be big sponsors at Easter show, both Rionet and then a new company that you have launched was coming on board as one of the major sponsors, and we thank you for that. We'll get you in the sponsorship ring sooner rather than later, we hope. But tell me, what is this new company? What is the product?
So my new company is called Equine 74. And basically it's a supplement for horses that suffer from ulcers.
Somebody's being whipped in the background. What's going on?
Oh no, it's a fire. No one's being whipped now.
I thought somebody was cracking the whip. I thought young Miles
I know we live with Aisling, but no.
Sure. Sorry, I interrupted. I couldn't help it. What is it? Equine 74. What is Equine 74?
Okay, so Equine 74 gastric is a supplement for horses that suffer from ulcers or any form of ulcer stages in their gastric system. And basically, just an interesting stat, basically studies have shown that roughly 95% of horses that are in human care have ulcers. So how the product works is it absorbs the excess gastric acid that lies in your horse's stomach, and basically that excess gastric acid would slosh around the top of your horse's stomach and cause lesions. So it buffers that excess acid that would cause any gastric ulcers.
Now, is this a cure for horses who already have ulcers, or is this a preventative supplement?
So basically how it would work, it's not a medicine. So it's obviously, like I've said, a supplement, and it can be used as a maintenance program. So your horse can be fed it basically forever if you'd like, and for in the long term. So it doesn't have any bad effects on your horses if they are fed it continuously. You can double your dosage for first 10 to 14 days as a so-called cure, which will obviously get rid of the ulcers, and then you can keep your horses on it as a maintenance program there on out. So
okay, and it's effective for ulcers in the front gut and the hind gut, whatever.
Yeah. So basically how it works is it reduces the acidity that's in your horse's gut, and so when the food passes through into the intestine, it's not so it doesn't have such a high acidity level. So yeah, obviously then your horses will, it balances the pH levels, and your horses will absorb more nutrients into from their food that you're feeding them already. So yeah.
Now, where can one find this product? Is it available? What sort of cost are we talking about? How does one get one's hands on it?
Okay, well, basically at the moment I'm selling it privately. So if anybody messages me or gets in contact with me, I can sell it to them and deliver it to them. Or I've got an online store, which is www.equine74.co.za, and you can go on there, and it's very self-explanatory once you're on the store. It's linked up to all courier companies, and yeah, so that's how you can get your hands on it at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just give that address once again.
At www.equine74.co.za.
And the online store is up and running, so people who've just watched this video can go on and have a look.
Yeah, it's fully functional, up and running, and live. So yeah.
Lovely. Well, we wish you all the best of luck with that, and hopefully some ulcery horses will be singing your praises as well. Now, let's talk a little bit about you and your equestrian career. Obviously, you come from a very equestrian-based family. You tell me the story. It's not only, you're not only second generation. I think it goes back further than that. Your dad's mom was involved in horses. Tell me the whole story.
So my dad's mom was involved with horses in terms of breeding, and she just had a deep love for horses. And my dad's dad was part of the White Protea colors for, I think it was polo cross. Oh, sorry, Gymkhana, stands to be corrected. So yeah, so that's my dad's family, and obviously my dad, well, like most people know, is, yeah, does show jumping, and my whole family. So.
And yourself, did you always have a passion for it? At what age did you start riding some of the ponies you rode in your formative years?
I started riding when I think I was 5. I always had love for horses, obviously, was exposed to them from a young age because of my dad's riding. And yeah, so I started, I think, when I was 5. Then I always rode, well, I started riding, I'm not quite sure what my first yard was when I was really small, but I moved to Tamar with Farnham Riding School when they were still in Chartwell at the time. And yeah, so I started there, started riding with Petrus. I'm sure some of the people that ride at Little Farnham know who Petrus is. Actually, Miles rides with him at the moment, so that's quite an interesting.
I'm taking, is Petrus a pony?
No, Petrus is an instructor at Tamar.
Ah.
So, yeah, so Milo has started training with Petrus as well at Tams at his young age of 2. And yeah, so I rode there my whole pony rider career, and then I moved on to Lorette and then on to Barry. So yeah, I had some very interesting ponies growing up. I'm sure Tam will agree. I spent more time falling off them than anything else, but I also had some really good ponies as well. So yeah.
Your children's career, were you a top child rider before you moved into juniors?
I wasn't so much a top pony rider. I did quite well in ponies on Jack Lag, Bandit Mandarin, which some people know as Beano. I rode who's Tanya Kleinance's pony. And then in children's, yeah, I wouldn't say I was a top children's rider either. But then I obviously had my very good mare Louisa when I was in juniors, and some other horses as well, Adele, yeah, that I rode in juniors, and I had a good junior career.
Tell me about that junior career. Was it all show jumping, or was there some equitation thrown in there as well? And also Louisa, the great Louisa, we remember her fondly. How did you get her? Tell me about that relationship, that association.
So I basically have just done show jumping my whole life. I attempted equitation at interschools once, which didn't go very well, so I didn't really make it back into the equitation scenes. But yeah, so basically just done show jumping. Yeah, and I rode or like you said, my good mare Louisa that passed away. But yeah, she was actually my dad rode her, and he jumped her in the Derby. He won the Burlington Cup on her. And yeah, and then one day my one mare Adele was very unsound for, I think it was a spring fair or spring festival that was at Maple Ridge, or the Youth Fest. I'm not entirely sure what they called it back then. But my dad put me on her 3 days before the show, said, you need a horse to ride at the show, put me on her, and I never gave her back. So that's basically how my partnership with Louisa started. So yeah.
And tell me about it, because she was a wonderful mare, but in terms of temperament and character, how giving was she?
She was an incredible mare. She had the biggest heart out of all the horses I've ever ridden. She was the bravest. Oh, sorry, she was the bravest horse I've ever sat on. But she was very feisty. She was insanely hot, sensitive, and was a little bit stroppy every now and then in the stables. But yeah, when she had her person, she liked you, then she was very sweet. But yeah, in general, she was a very feisty mare. I'm sure most people would have seen her in the parades giving me a bit of grief, but and in prize givings. But yeah, she was an incredible mare.
And was she imported? At what level was she when she was imported, if she was? Her pedigree, and then how far did you take her? Because you rode her in juniors. I think you were under license as well to ride in adults as well. And how far did you go in the adult ranks with her?
Yeah, so she was imported from Hilmamaya. That's where my dad found her. I think she might have been jumping in the Wendy's there, but she was fairly young when he bought her in. I think she might have been like 7. She's by a stallion called Le Premier. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, actually, Jean Corbe's mare is out of, or Lamina is out of the same father as Louisa. So yeah, they. Anyways, and then so she basically was bought from Hilmamaya. She came here. My dad jumped in the Derby, and then she became my mare, and she took me through my first 130 class, my first open class, as a junior, and then then I got a license to ride obviously as a young rider, but ride in adults. And yeah, so then she took me through all of that, through my first 135s all the way up to the 150s, my first Grand Prix, first Derbies, first World Cups, Grand Prix. Yeah, so all my firsts were with her. So she was a very special mare.
That first Derby that you rode, how old were you at the time? Can you recall the day, your nerves, the round?
I was in matric, but I was 17 when I jumped my first Derby. That was a very nerve-wracking day. Yeah, it was an incredible experience. I was obviously, my dad was there at the time helping me. I think he might have been riding overseas as well in my matric year. But yeah, so he was there to help calm my nerves, walk the course with me and Barry. And yeah, it was a very thrilling day. I actually remember I was number 1, so I was lowest qualifier. So that was also quite an experience. But yeah.
And how did you do? Penalties? You find the finish?
I found the finish with a lot of poles, but nonetheless, I was thrilled beyond measure, and very, very proud of my mare. She helped me out a lot through my first Derby. So yeah.
Any Derbies since then, or is that the one and only that you've ridden so far?
I jumped the Derby the next year after that with her as well, and we did better. But shame, I didn't know at the time, she was really strong through the Derby, and jumped out of my hands at the St. Andrew's Cross. We finished the Derby, and she was incredible. And a week later, we found out that she had to have a tooth removed. So shame, she was in quite a lot of pain. So yeah.
Oh, shame.
Yeah,
Kaylie, you mentioned some World Cups along the way. How many qualifiers have you ridden in? Some of your best results?
I'm not entirely sure how many I've ridden in. Sorry, I didn't count that before. But yeah, I jumped my first World Cup when I was 17 as well. So the same year I jumped Derby, I jumped my first World Cup in Shongweni. And I actually jumped clear that first World Cup. So yeah, and I've jumped, yeah, so my best, I think I've come 6th. That's probably my best results in a World Cup. And yeah, since then I think I've jumped 3 clears, but 1 with a time penalty. So yeah.
Your string that you have today, tell me about the horses that you're currently competing.
I've quite a new string of horses. I've had my mare Babiche, which I've had her for 2 years now. So okay, she's not as new as my others, but I've got a new mare called Liberty's Girl. She's Lord sorry, not Lord Petsy, Lord Zed. I got her last year this time. We actually bought her last year this time. And then I have a young mare, very good young horse from Cayleigh called Cayleigh's Louisa. So she's up and coming. And then I have my brother's 2 mares because my brother moved overseas. He's based with Oliver Lazarus right now. So I got his 2 mares, Cayleigh's Fiona and Charlene. So very exciting new partnerships.
Speaking of Tom, how's he doing? Has he acclimatized there? Has he competed? What's he up to?
Tom's doing well. So as I said, he's with Oliver Lazarus. So he's got 3 horses there now. And he's staying there obviously until he starts studying. And so he's got 1 horse that he took to Spain. So he did the whole Spain tour for 3 weeks. His horse Gaudi, and he did really, really well. They jumped in the 140s and had a really good run there. And then he came back to South Africa for about 2 weeks and went back again. And yeah, he hasn't really been back, obviously, with the coronavirus and everything shutting down. But yeah, in the time he's got 3 horses, he's got 2 new horses. So he's obviously working really hard and getting to know his new teammates. So yeah.
And you say until he starts studying, so is this just a stopgap year? Is he coming back to study, or is he going to study over there while furthering his riding?
No, so he is planning on studying in the UK. So obviously he'll take his horses with him, but yeah, so he's hoping, well, he's been accepted to London School of Economics and a few other universities. He's a bit of a bright spark. So yeah. That's where he plans on studying, and I think their year starts in September. So he'll move
Speaking of studying, did you study when you left school?
Yeah, I'm in my final year of studying at the moment. So I'm studying a BCom business management, and yeah, so obviously I started studying when I left school, but I added on an extra year by transferring universities. So that obviously added on some subjects and modules and all that. So yeah.
And what does the future hold for you? Where do you see yourself going? Are you planning on making a life and a career out of horses, or is that going to be a passion on the side? There's this new business that you've launched. What does the future hold?
Well, obviously, I'm very passionate about my horses and my riding, so I'll always make time for that. It's always been a priority in my life. But yeah, I hope to have a different career path other than riding horses. So yeah, hopefully my business will kick off. So obviously in some way I'd like to keep it all touching sides with the horses and the riding, as they are obviously a very big passion of mine. So yeah, hopefully my business will get going, and yeah, we'll see where things take me next year. I'm not entirely sure yet.
Tell me about the family dynamics within the Triggol family when it comes to competitions and shows. Are you competitive with one another? What's it like in the training ring at home? Does Dad still have a lot of advice for you? Is he the number one coach, or does he just let you get on with things? If you're pitted in a jump off against him or against Aisling, is it every man for himself? How does it work?
I think our family is very supportive of each other, but obviously there's some competition. So we're always happy for each other if each other beats us. But yeah, in the training ring, we obviously all trained by Barry. But my dad obviously watches us all at home when we schooling and helps us when, you know, we're not having lessons with B. But yeah, other than that, we're under Barry's watchful eye, and when we're all in a jump off, it's, I think, pretty much every man for themselves. But again, we're not so sad if we get beat by a family member, so that's okay.
And if Aisling ever makes a jump off, that's a miracle. So I don't think anyone's ever rooting me down.
Is that Aisling in the background there?
Yeah, that's easy chirping. So.
Career highlights for you up until this point?
Obviously, well, in pony riders, my career highlight there was, or probably my only highlight in my pony rider career, was winning the children's FEI challenge, and then quickly after that, I moved to horses. I wasn't realized my pony rider career wasn't as exciting as horses would be. But yeah, other than that, it's been jumping my two derbies on Louisa, and the 3 World Cups that I've done really well in on her. That's been my career highlights, I'd say.
Now, your dad's had a few stints overseas riding, your brother's there. Anything in the pipeline for you? Would you join your brother at any stage? Have you got aspirations of riding overseas?
Right now, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not quite sure where my life's going to go. I sound very uncertain in this interview, but yeah, when I finished school, my dad asked me if I wanted to go overseas and ride, if that's what I wanted to do. But I wanted to just get my degree first, and because obviously I had my horses here, which I was really happy with, and I wanted to stay here. So, actually, with Louisa, that was my main goal, was to carry on riding her here. And then, yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'll just need to see where it all goes. I would love to ride overseas at some stage, but not entirely sure when.
Do you have any sponsors? And if so, just a little shout out to them and some of the people who have been very influential in your career that you've looked up to?
I don't have any sponsors, but obviously we ride under Callagher's name, so everybody knows who Callagher is. So yeah, they've always been really great. And other than that, people that have been very influential in my riding career have been, well, obviously my dad always supporting me, and my coach, and my family. So everyone that's just been behind me and given me a helping hand where they can and supported me where they can. Yeah, it's always been very much appreciated.
Now, we know that your dad has a big passion for the breeding side of things as well. Do you share that passion for pedigrees? And if so, what are some of your favorites?
Obviously, yeah, my knowledge on pedigrees is not as good as my father's. Yeah, I think that's one thing he'd like me to sharpen up on a little bit. But yeah, I'm very interested in pedigrees, and obviously what they get from each side of the bloodlines. But yeah, I'd say probably my favorite right now would be Eldorado and Choco Blue.
Kaylie, it's been wonderful chatting to you. We're not going to keep you much longer. All the very, very best for your new business ventures. Once again, for people who want to have a look at that product, where can they access, once again, that website?
www.equine74.co.za.
All the very best, and hopefully we'll see you in the not too distant future at the shows, if we all get out of this alive. Here's to hoping. Wonderful chatting to you, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Thank you, Aidan. Keep well.
Take care.